All right, guys, thanks for watching the live feed, but it's a couple days later, and Aaron Kaufman is back with us to tell us a little bit about the differences between when we started with his Turbo S and the finish ride quality from all of our products on it. So, Aaron, I know you had a chance to go out with us a couple of times and do your final drive in the same area that you were driving this car stock in, so you have a good before and after.
So we went out with the car bone stock, and we went back and tested it in the same exact place after we adjusted everything. Stock, this car was, I mean, it goes down the trail just fine, but once you start applying throttle to it, the car's super on edge, and it's like it takes bad bumps and it'll kick you out. You're continually chasing the car everywhere, and as soon as you get where you think you're starting to go faster, you also start feeling the fear of death. And it's like the car is just really out of control, and like it happens pretty quick in the stock car, in my opinion. Somewhere around 50 miles an hour, it's like you're on a razor's edge, like you're barely hanging on. The shocks are completely hard bottoming out. It feels like the tire's gonna climb in the car with you. And then like as you're going over big bumps, you're not sure if it's going to like try and swap out, you know, where the back end's gonna try and pass you. And that was another thing like I was really unhappy with, is that the shocks being so full of air and cavitated, and like I realize it's a consumer product, but like off the showroom floor, they were really an inadequate aspect of the car to a great degree. And so just we were able to keep the hardware on it the same, but fixing the spring rates and getting the valving right and getting the oil in it appropriately and bled out. It's like this was a completely different car. And so the car was radically faster. One of the other things that y'all sell is the rack and the pin kit and the rods on, and I was looking at it from a strength and durability issue, like whether we're going really fast and we come into a corner hard and hit it, I would just, if you fold up a tie rod, like that's going to be a bad day.
Concerned in the back of your mind, you're like, I know what's going to fail on this if I drive it to that level. So you were concerned with steering, and that's why we went that direction.
And then in the rocks, it's like, you know, we'll be in rocks that are bigger than the tires on it. And so if you're trying to force against it, like once again, folding up a tie rod is a major problem. It's a day ender. And so, or at least, you know, a time suck, and if you're racing, you're out of the race at this point. And so we put the rack and everything on, and instantly, and it's not just putting the rack on, but also doing the car setup on it. And on this car, I'll be honest, like we'd never even done the alignment, no car setup on it. The car was thrown together in 5 days, went to Hammers, and then I didn't get a chance to drive it again until we went out here and tested. And so,
what was your take on this? Just the steering. How about just where was the steering prior compared to the steering after?
So I didn't feel like the steering stock was like I didn't feel like it was a problem. I didn't think that it was bad or anything. And it's like, it was just that like I was chasing the car a lot, and it's like between having unsettled suspension, and then it just felt like you were chasing it. Also, the steering sometimes would have like these hard spots in it, and you'd get the car twisted up in a certain way where the steering seemed less effective on it. I know that sounds crazy, but when you're scooting along, like you can tell, and like the car had bad feedback. I was chasing the car, and like going through big bumps and stuff, the car would turn. You could feel it steering from the rear and steering from the front as well, and you weren't turning the wheel. And so it's an unsettling thing. You kind of just have to get used to it to go fast, or so I thought, right? In these. So we did the steering is precise, it's sharp, and it's light. And the combination of it, and I don't know if y'all have sped up the ratio on the rack or if it's a stock ratio or not, but like the mesh on the gears on it, it must be tighter than it is on the other one, because everything is smooth and it's very precise. So it's like if I want the car with a little bit of, you know, if I want to toss the car a little bit sideways and then hit that point right there, it's like I can just put the car there, which is an amazing feeling to be able to have the car where you want it on the course or racetrack or any of these things, or just on the trail, right? And so I loved it.
Now, one of the other things that we did on this is we put a BSD pin kit on it, which is taking all the bump steer out of it. And I believe we started with 2.5 inches.
Yeah, that's what they told me
in this car, and got it down to 5/8 or less, I think.
Oh, they said we were inside an eighth on this car.
Then that's even better, but that usually translates to feedback. Did you notice that?
100%. And also steering return also was really linear and really soft on it. Like the steering on it, had we not done the shocks, I would have been blown away just by the steering on it. And it's like, it's hard, if you don't drive these hard or drive them fast, it's hard to kind of understand like what the value is in having the steering be so precise and the feedback being correct on it. And so between the setup on the car and with like the stock upright, like there's no ability, like you can set the toe on it, but as far as the bump on it, and if people at home if you don't understand the bump on it, as we cycle the suspension, the wheel will turn in and out. So you're driving straight and holding the wheel, and as you encounter bumps, the car is turning without you holding the wheel, and that's an unnerving situation.
Excellent description.
Yeah, and so the steering on it was magic. I mean, really genuinely super impressed with it, because like I kind of thought this just is what it is, and you just deal with it, right? But that's not the case at all. I was like, between the setup on the car, getting the bump steer out of it, and then the sharp precision steering, like couldn't be more. It just couldn't be more, floored by that. I had so much fun.
So let's talk about the spring and shock package outside of the steering improvements. One thing that you had mentioned after the test is that you were pretty comfortable at 30 to 40 miles an hour in the car factory, but it was a white knuckle ride at 50 miles an hour.
Yep.
And then afterwards, what were some of the things that you noticed in layman's terms for everyone watching this, from where it was to where it is now?
So I think the only way, in layman's terms, I think the only way we can talk about it is in confidence, right? Because like we started getting into nuance about a thing, and also some driving aspects that some people that just take them out on the weekends and enjoy their cars like don't really think about. But the one thing is like as you're going down the trail and say you're going a relatively flat section going 50 miles an hour, as you look on the horizon, you start to see like these big bumps, and it's hard to tell how much they are. It's like the fear, right? Like what's going to happen, and if you know your car and it bucks wildly and the rear end tries to swap out and stuff, you know that this could be the end of your weekend, and you
have to slow down.
You have to. That's it. And especially like if you're not racing for time, if you're not really good at this, like this could be a dangerous situation. And so you'll go from at 50, it's like you are hoping that you make it out the other side. And then the scary thing is for people less experienced, and they'll lift on throttle and they're already in it.
And make it worse.
It can make it way worse. And so it's the confidence once again. It's just like going, and once you feel like, oh yeah, so at 50, it's like, quite frankly, I can mash through anything that is like not higher than the hood, and it's like, that's nice. And then we were able to pick the pace up quite a bit. And at some point, like you're moving freeway speeds down 2-track and bumps that are bigger than the tire. And it's like once you've done that a couple times and you feel the car is composure at that speed, it's like now like the safety in the car is much higher, your confidence in the car is much higher, and I think that one feeds the other one. And your enjoyment that you spent all this money, you spent this time on this thing, and it's like hitting the brake isn't fun, mashing the gas pedal is fun. So you want the car to work better whenever you're hard on the gas. And it's like, I really do think it boils down to confidence in the car. When the car has composure in the rough stuff, you're gonna drive it harder, you're gonna enjoy the equipment more.
What was the difference in speed between before and after in that same section that where I think you had mentioned 30-40 was happy, but 50 was a problem?
Yeah, the suspension's making all kinds of noise and clacking and all stuff, but you could drive it, right? Put it this way, if you don't drive fast a lot, you're gonna be late on the steering and you're gonna wreck the car. And so like, just for a casual driver, I think at 50 miles an hour, the potential to wreck the car is extreme, right?
In the before
setup,
in that section.
Yep.
In that same section, how about after?
With the stock steering and the stock steering, stock setup, and the stock shocks on it, at 50, I do think that green drivers, novice drivers, guys that aren't used to like putting in inputs before they're needed, like it's like, I think they would wreck the car at 50 or 55 or something like that.
Where are we at now?
I got the car 72, and so
20 mile an hour over where you were.
Yeah, and we're just testing, like in race conditions.
And
we're
not
not
in
pushing.
white knuckle at 70.
Nope. And so like, call it a consistent 65 to 70, and like I could do it all day. You know what I mean? It's like we could get racy. Like I could push someone around the track at that speed. And so like that's to me, and I don't know how it sounds to everybody else, but that's a big improvement. Like it's a huge improvement. It's like to be on 2-track with, and like literally the bumps out there we're hitting are anywhere from 3/4 to the size of the tire. You know what I mean? Which is not small, particularly if it's 42s, it's not a big bump, but like on 32s that measure 30, it's a big bump. And so I felt like 70 was fast in that section. So that being said, it's like we got everything I wanted. The steering I wasn't prepared for. I didn't realize how good that was going to get. And like driving along, I couldn't help but think, it's like, if you owned one of these cars, if you bought one of these cars and you haven't made the phone call, if you haven't invested the time to research like what the quality, the value of improving the dampening on it and the spring rates on it, I think you're doing yourself a huge disservice, because this is not the same car it was Monday. And here it is, 2 days later, and we're driving a radically different car that, that runs 20 miles an hour faster than it did on Monday in the same section. And so 20 miles an hour is not a small amount.
No, it's a large amount. How about the comfort factor? Because a lot of our customers really just want to get it more plush and they don't want to get abused. What would you describe that?
High speed. The slow speed on this is like riding on your couch. The slow speed is really nice on it. And so like, after we get done with the testing thing, if we're just not chatting and driving, I mean, it's smooth and it's nice. And before, the car was super clacky. It was just clack, 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 and it seemed like really, really heavy, kind of not like
abusive.
It was like it would wear you out. The car drives really nice, like when you're not like on the gas. It's really plush. And then once we get into it, it's like obviously we're mashing bumps at at 60 plus miles an hour, and so there is a firmness to it. But the car, we talk about the composure, that is kind of the plushness, right? The idea is like that you want to sit there and then have the car just work underneath you, so it's like you can decide where you want to put the car, and that's what we have now. So I'll tell you, and we've got the videos on. It's like when I ran it stock, I'm telling you, I'd come into stuff and I knew how the car was going to act. I mean, I would just like almost go to lockout just for the moment, just so when you hit on it, and and now your shoulders locked up. If something happens, like you're not going to be as fast in it. The car's dangerous. I mean, I'll say it. The car's dangerous at speed, bone stock. Yeah. That's my opinion. Yeah. Is that like if you don't drive it fast, it's fun, right? But that's not why you buy them, right? You buy them to go fast. Right. And so like once you turn the speed up on it, I do think the stock car is dangerous. I mean, not in a like, oh my God way, but if you don't have the talent, it'll bite you.
Yeah, for sure. So. A lot of our customers feel that, why do I need to do all that stuff? Because I'm not racing. I'm not going that fast. I'm just kind of a cruiser, a putter. I've got my wife in the car, or maybe my kids. I don't need to go and do that stuff. So would you agree, or what would you tell them?
Absolutely not. Their perspective is completely wrong. So it's not that we're going to put all this on your car and you're going to go race and buy a toter and move to California. Like, that's not going to happen. But what it is like you drive 35 miles an hour or 25 miles an hour trail because that is the fastest that it's comfortable. Once it's comfortable at 50 and faster and 60 and all this stuff, you'll drive where it's comfortable. And it's like your skills will increase. It's like your comfort in the car. It's like you'll be able to drive the car longer. The car will do what you ask. It's like, so ultimately there's a safety factor, a comfort factor, and you only drive 35 on the trail because that is as fast as the car's controllable. Once the car's controllable faster, you'll drive the car faster.
You can do it.
Yeah, so it's like someone goes, well, I don't drive that fast. You don't drive that fast because the car doesn't work. It's not a hard one.
Seems to be, basic math.
Yeah.
Right. But we work on this stuff day in and day out.
The guys move through the cars so fast, and it's like the cars come in and they leave in a couple days, and they're radically different cars. They look the same, but like the car does not move or act the same way. And it's like the car doesn't feel like a consumer product anymore to me. It's like the car feels like it
fits you.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not going to go out and compete with y'all in the race car in this one, but at the same time, though, this is a far cry from what it was on Monday. And once again, I keep coming back to the confidence, like. The car does what you ask, so you feel like asking more of the car.
Really, actually, that's an excellent statement. Maybe we should use that in some of our stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I'll send you the address. You can be on the check. Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, really appreciate you coming in and giving us honest feedback on everything that we've done. And just so you guys know, we didn't pay for that. Yeah. No, in our discussions, we're like, hey, just tell it like it is.
No, but the truth of the matter, it's really simple for me. Is like, there's a bigger story to why I bought one, but ultimately I bought one and I was let down. It's like I expected, because I didn't have any experience with these cars, and it's like, despite I'd gone racing with them, but other people's cars and had them set up, and I just hop in and we just drive things. Anyway, so getting a stock one, I bought it, and I was like, this thing is not very good, and so it's like, and you gave money for it, and it's aggravating. And so, so to be able to, so when we talk about money, it's like when you think about, well, yeah, but like revalving shocks and buying springs and getting into this and testing, it's like, I don't really know if I want to spend that. You've already spent money and you're not getting what the vehicle is designed to do out of it. Like the little bit more will give you the car that you thought you were buying. And it's like, and I think that's one thing that people have a hard time with. They're like, well, it's like, oh, I spent 20 or 30 or 40 grand on this car. Like this is as good as it's going to get. That's not true. Like it's a consumer product. They built it middle of the road because they didn't know who was all going to buy it. And so if you enjoy going fast, if you enjoy the stability and the safety and the comfort on it, and like, I don't know how anyone wouldn't, then it's like, you owe it to yourself to at least make a phone call and like start the discussion about how to get the suspension to work better.
Man, Aaron, thank you very much for coming in, giving us all of your input on all of it, and hopefully that's helped some of you guys who are watching this. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you for watching everything that we're up to. And listening to Aaron, we'll have all of his medias to pop up so you guys can start following him. It's a lot of fun to do that. So thanks again for watching what we got going on.